Hello everyone and welcome back to English with Malik. In today's lesson, we are going to talk about active and passive voice. It is actually a request that has been made by some learners. So to help them, assist them understand this structure well in a bit detail, I have prepared this lesson. So to begin with, let's see with an example. We have a sentence, we make butter from milk. Okay, this is a normal sentence. It's a sentence which is of present indefinite. Okay, and how it is present indefinite? Well, this first form of verb can help us determine. So in a normal sentence, we have subject, verb and object. Okay, and then we have sometime adverbial. Okay, this is adverbial because this is coming afterwards. Well, what do we do in active? We focus in active on the doer. That's the reason it is called an active sentence, because the doer is important. But when we make passive from active, we shift our focus from doer to the action. Okay, so we say that in passive sentence, either action is important, or doer is unknown or unimportant, or we say that passive also talks about process. Okay, there are like these three reasons that I have enlisted. Action is important, so we go for passive. Doer is unknown or unimportant, or process scientific generally we are talking about. So how do we formulate passive from active? Well, we have to see that whatever the object we have in active, like in this sentence, we have butter, which is an object. We change the object of active sentence into the subject of passive sentence. That's the one key thing that you need to remember, that in an active sentence, first find out where is the object. Okay, and if a sentence does not has an object, that is another problem that comes with active sentences, that some of the active sentences do not have an object. Okay, they may have complement, they may have adverbial, but they do not have kind of object. Okay, for instance, let me give you an example. For instance, we say that he will go to New York. Okay, New York. He will go to New York. In this sentence, we have a subject, we have a verb, but we do not have an object. This part of the sentence is called complement. Okay, that is completing the sentence. So if there is a case like this where we do not have an object, no passive is possible. Okay, so check, very firstly you have to check whether a sentence has an object. Like in this case, we make butter from milk, so this butter is an object. We change this butter from here to the subject of the passive sentence. That's the first thing. Second is, again, check what tense is used over here. Okay, like if it is present simple tense, present indefinite tense, we have to change that present indefinite into passive present indefinite. And how do we determine this? Well, there are three things: is, am, and are. We have to be careful about. And all the passive sentences, whether they are in present or past or future or perfect or whatever the tense, they all carry third form of verb. Remember, always when you are changing an active sentence into passive sentence, just use third form of verb. Okay, there is no other option. So the present indefinite tense is changed into present passive tense, which is with is and third form of verb, which is made. Why I am using is here? Because butter is a subject and butter is basically an uncountable word. Okay, it's a noun, but it is an uncountable noun. So with all uncountable nouns or non-count nouns or singular nouns, we use is. So butter is made, and then we use from milk, which is part over here. In some cases, in some cases, and sometimes some of the people suggest that we should use the subject of active sentence as an agent into the past tense. So sometimes if you want, what you can do is you can use by, or then you use an object which is us. We is a subject pronoun, us is an object pronoun. So remember that. If you are using by, remember to use a pronoun which is an object pronoun, not the subject pronoun. Okay. So over here we have an active sentence. We change active into passive by focusing on object, by focusing on verb. Okay. And also we need to see that this sentence that we have in active, that sentence is in either present or past or future or perfect or continuous as well. Okay. Uh, for example, I have an example here. Somebody stole my car. Somebody stole my car yesterday. Now, over here, this is a sentence again in past indefinite active. This is the subject, that is the verb, that is an object. Okay. And yesterday is an adverb. Okay. So we'll use it as it is. Now, somebody stole my car yesterday. What do you need to do? First of all, you need to take this object, because this will be the subject of our passive sentence. So we say that my car, okay, my car. Now, the verb is stole, which is past tense. Now, we will change into past passive. And how do we do this? For past tense, we use was or were. Okay, we use was or were. Like in present, we use is, am, are. Similarly, in past, we are using was and were. So, my car was stolen yesterday. That would be the sentence. My car was stolen yesterday. Subject and verb. My car was stolen yesterday. Then we have they have painted the house. Okay. This is again an active sentence, and this sentence is in present perfect. Okay. They have painted the house. They is a subject. Have painted is a verb which is present perfect, and the house is an object. And how will we change it? Again, we'll take the house, which is an object. So we say the house. Okay. And what about the verb now? Because it is a present perfect verb. Okay. So to change a present perfect verb, we need to put has been or have been. Has been if the subject is singular, and have been if the subject is plural. Well, in this case, the house is a singular subject. So we say the house has been painted. And third form of the verb, the house has been painted. Okay. Again, passive has always third form of verb. Then we have somebody will clean the office. Okay. This is subject, verb, and object. Okay. Somebody will clean the office. Now, this is a sentence in future tense. Okay. So we say the office Okay. And how do we change will? With will, we use will be and then the third form of verb. Let me write first, then I'll explain. The office will be cleaned. Okay. The office will be cleaned. All the modal verbs, as we call them, like will, can, could, may, might, should, ought to, have to, has to, must, need, they all will carry be and third form of verb in the case of passive. Okay. For example, let's see if I am using an example like I can do it. Okay. This is a sentence with can as a modal verb. I can do it. So, what do we do with this? What do we do? We change, first of all, again, we identify that subject, verb, and object. Okay. It is an object. So, we'll take out it, we'll say it can be done. It can be done. If I'm using, for example, may, so it will be like it may be done. If I'm using must, it will be it must be done. If I'm using should, this will be it should be done. If it is could, it will be it could be done. Okay. And if it is might, if it is ought to, if it is have to, has to, in all these cases, we will use the same kind of pattern. Okay, let's see a few more examples that would help you understand it a bit more. Passive structure is used in sentences like, for example, you say that my father bought this pen. Okay, my father bought this pen. Now, identify subject, identify verb, identify object. Okay, so now what do? We will say that we take object here. So we say this pen, and because it is past tense, so we'll use was bought. Okay, this pen was bought by my father. This pen was bought by my father. Okay. If, for example, we have a sentence like this building was owned by Malik's. Okay. Now, in this sentence, we have subject, third form of verb, and then we have the doers, which are used by using by and then the Malik. This sentence is already a passive sentence. Okay, why I use this sentence? To clarify one thing, that the reason for using passive voice is that sometimes we talk about things which were done in the past, in which the action was important. Okay, the things where all the activity was done. Okay, and how the activity was done, you need to check this out. Okay, for example, uh, we talk about an event in which an action happened, and but we do not know the doer. Like if you could remember an example that I wrote in the explanation, the example was that when you say that for example, my bag was stolen. Okay. Now, because I do not know who did it, okay, therefore I am using this passive structure. Okay. It's not necessary to use passive every time. Okay. A funny sentence could be like this, where you say that English is taught by Mr. Malik. Okay. English is taught by Mr. Malik. In such sentences, it's my personal opinion that it is better to say that Mr. Malik teaches English. I mean, this seems more natural. This seems more natural, more normal when you say Mr. Malik teaches English. Rather than saying this, if you say English is taught by Mr. Malik, grammatically, that is right. This is active, that is passive. But I don't feel that there is need to say something which seems quite okay and normal into passive. Some people are into the idea that every sentence, every action, everything should be changed into passive. Well, it doesn't happen. And the example is that when you read newspapers, okay, in newspapers, a lot of sentences are used of passive. Why? Because newspaper focuses on various actions. Okay. For example, they say that an article was passed in the assembly. Okay. Now, when you say that an article was passed in the assembly, okay. Now, why we are using passive here? Because there were a lot of people. Let's say more than 200 people were present, and there was a voting. And out of 200, around 160 said that, okay, let's pass this article. Okay. Now, the action was important, the action of passing the article. But who did it, that's not important. Otherwise, we'll have to write the names of, like, let's say 160 people, which we won't do. Okay. So passive is used when the actions are important. Passive is used when we focus on what happened rather than who did it. Okay. Like you said that the UN, for example, the UN has passed a resolution. Okay. Now, again, in the United Nations, there are a lot of countries, almost all the countries in the world, and they have all, agreed for a certain resolution. Therefore, the UN has passed a resolution. So, just remember that passive sentences are used when actions are important, when doer is unknown or important, okay? Or like in the third case, when there is some process. I'll come to that process as well. Let me just give you an example of how we use passive into continuous sentence. For example, we say that they are building a bridge. Okay. Now, this is a sentence which is in present continuous tense. We have subject, a continuous verb, and an object. And what do we do with it? The same idea. We take the object. So our object will come here. A bridge is being built by them. Okay. In continuous sentences, this is the additional thing. Being is an additional thing. Is built is the same with all the normal sentences like present indefinite or past indefinite or future indefinite or present perfect or past perfect, but when it is a continuous sentence, this is an addition. A bridge is being built by them. If the sentence is in past, for example, if it is they were building a bridge, a bridge was being built by them. This is how we will make the passive continuous tense. Okay. So all the continuous sentences will be treated in such a way. For example, we said that he is washing his bike. Okay. He is washing his bike. Now, we know that our object is this, so we'll bring it here. His bike is being washed by him. Okay, but like I told you, this would seem a bit awkward when you say that his bike is being washed by him. Rather than saying this, we should say it into active sentence that he is washing his bike. So unnecessary usage of active sometimes create a problem. The last thing is that we use also passive when we talk about a process. Okay, for example, you want to make a cup of coffee. So what do? Or you want to make a cup of tea. It's a process. To make a cup of tea, what do? We say that, for example, water is poured into a pot. Okay, that is the first thing that you do. Then you say that the stove is lighted. Okay, then water is boiled. Okay, tea is poured. Okay, then you say that milk is added, sugar is added. Okay, and then you say that water is boiled for couple of minutes. Okay, and finally the tea is poured into cups and served. Okay, I can make a complete new sentence of served as well. I can say that the tea is served. Okay, so it's a process. Maybe a step or two is missing. Well, I'm not a good tea maker, but that is a process in which we also use passive sentence. And all of these sentences are with present and with the third form of verb. If there is a process that happened in the past, okay, so we will use past tense, like the tea was poured, the water was boiled. And if a process is which we will talk about, future, a situation, then we'll say the water will be boiled, the tea will be poured, stuff like that. So finally, I can say that active sentence is a sentence in which the doer is important, and passive sentence is a sentence in which action is important, doer is unknown or unimportant, or there is a process that we are talking about. In passive sentences, we change the object of active into the subject of a passive sentence. And in passive sentence, we always use third form of verb. Again, it depends. If it is in present tense, we'll use is/am/are. If it is in past, we'll use was/were. If it is in perfect, we'll use have, has. If it is in past perfect, we'll use had, been, had. If it is in future, we'll say will be. If it is with must, may, might, could, should, have to, has to, we'll use be with them. Okay, so this is it for now. I hope this will help you. I hope this explains the things into detail. And if still there are some issues, please do write in the comments, and I'll get back to you, and I'll try to sort that out for you. Until then, bye.